Hi everyone, have you heard there's a new club in town? Spellbinder's BetterPress Plate of the Month is kicking off with a bang with the gorgeous Poinsettia Frame. I have two card examples, one done with Copic markers and the other watercoloring with Caron markers. For both cards, I'll be working on A2 size BetterPress cotton card panels. For the card that will be Copic colored, I'm going to start off by doing some ink blending on the panel. I'm working with Distress Oxide inks, Mowed Lawn, and Scattered Straw. Typically when I do ink blending, I work on a very smooth cardstock called Bristol Smooth. I was surprised how nicely this ink went on to the BetterPress cotton paper. Because I'll be Copic coloring over the background, I do keep my pressure quite light. The panel is lined up with the A2 registration marks on the platen, and I use a little bit of tape on either side to hold it in place. Because the frame will just about fill up this entire panel, I just catch the edges of it. I have the 3 shims and the magnetic insert placed inside the chase. Grid is used to center the plate in the outline for the A2 panel. The raised edges of the plate are inked with BetterPress black ink. This ink works well with any medium. The platen with its 4 metal corners is aligned to the spring-loaded feet on the chase, and it snaps into position. The platen with the panel will sit above the inked plate until it is pressed down as it goes through the die cutting machine. To me, this paper feels very similar to watercolor paper. I wasn't sure how the Copic markers were going to work out, but they actually blended very nicely. Because the images are small, the coloring does go very quickly. The only blending that I really did was on the poinsettias, a little bit of blending on the berries and the holly, and then the rest was just straight coloring. Poinsettias were colored darkest to lightest with R39, 37, and 30. The berries were quickly colored with a little bit of R39 at the base of it, and then finishing off the top with R30. All of the greenery was colored with YG67 or 61. Seriously, this went very quickly. And the holly leaves being a little bit bigger, I started off with my darkest green, the YG67, in the center where the veining is, and then finished the outside edges with YG61. Touch of purple was added in with V25 on the oval berries. There are a couple of images that I think are like pine cones, and I use Y28. For the second card, the Poinsettia Frame was used in conjunction with the Merry Christmas sentiment that comes with the set. The coloring is being done with Caron markers, which is a water-based brush pen. I find that these work a little bit differently than other water-based pens like Zigs or Artezas. With Artezas and Zigs, it works most effectively when you apply your ink and then pull the color out. For the Caron markers, I like to first wet the area that I'm painting, add in the pigment ink, and then pull the color out. Now, because the images are small, I really only use that approach with the poinsettias. For the holly leaves, which are a little bit bigger than some of the other images, I did put down a base coat of light green and then added in my dark green on the veining, went back with my light green to blend it out. And the lightest green was used on all of the greenery. To add in some holiday shine, I reached for my Gonzai Tombi Starry colors. To work with these metallic paints, I find it best to put some water on the paint and let it sit for a few minutes. The paint will soften, and then it's much easier to pick up that color. The berries in the center of the poinsettia were painted with one of two shades of gold. Before applying spatter to the panel, the sentiment was first masked off with some Post-it note tape. For this card, I'm going to be applying some distress stain using a fan brush. I start off with a dark gray and then follow up with some tarnished brass. For the Copic colored panel, again, I'll apply some of the tarnished brass, and then I'm going to use some Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white, water it down slightly, and apply that. This card I'm using outlined Christmas sentiments. Christmas Hugs has been die cut from both black sheet foam and gold foil cardstock. It's a fine sentiment, so when I die cut the foam, I leave the die cut in the backing, apply the glue, and then I have a recessed area, making it very easy to align the gold foil die cut to it. When using this method, it is important to make sure that the adhesive is completely dry before removing the excess foam. This is a good way to add a little bit of dimension to a fine cut sentiment for your card. And then some dots of adhesive are applied to the back, and on goes the sentiment. This card was embellished with some gold foil pearls. For the first card, I highlighted all the berries with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew. And that wraps up this project featuring Spellbinder's BetterPress Plate of the Month. The BetterPress system is so easy to use and has a beautiful result. I'm in love with Poinsettia Frame. It is absolutely gorgeous. Time to start getting ready for Christmas. Thank you for joining me, and as always, I appreciate your visit.